Hello, 你好. Welcome to Mandarin Mama Chitchat. It is where Trista and Yao Yao, two Taiwanese moms, share intriguing conversations with amazing people from all over the world. We're super excited and grateful to have you here, and really hope you enjoy our chit-chat.
Hi everyone, welcome back. This is Yao Yao, one of your hosts of Mandarin Mama Chitchat. Thank you for being here every week, or if you're new, welcome. Trista and I, we're here every week to bring you amazing interview from amazing guests, to share inspiration and story from different people from all over the world to you guys. So thank you guys for being here. I want to make sure you guys subscribe to our podcast so you'll get alert from our latest episode. And make sure you go follow us on our social media, as it is Mandarin Together now on Facebook and Instagram. And we will, at our show notes, we will have free resources that you guys can download. So make sure you go check it out. Today we have Ran Wei joining us. Such a treat speaking with her. Ran is a publisher and an author of children bilingual workbooks. She is also a mother of two. She immigrated here when she was 5 years old. Because of her parents' lovable parenting style and her parents' positivity and their loving way of teaching her Mandarin and continue to her Mandarin education, I think it made a huge impact in her life. She has such a positive experience growing up learning Mandarin from her parents. And you can just see her face. She's just such a lovable person. She is so positive. I mean, just by talking to her on the computer, I can feel her energy, feel her love. She's an amazing person. And I think she's passing on that positivity, that loving experience, that loving parenting experience to her child, to her children right now. And not only to her children, now she's impacting other family and other children through her books. So it's amazing episode. Both Tristan and I learned a lot from her. She is just so, I told her she's a force, and she's not stopping. She is not stopping. She has a 3-year-old and an 11-year-old. She's going. She's gonna keep publishing, and she's gonna do more. She has some toys idea. Let's welcome Ran Wei. You guys are gonna love this episode. Hi, Ran. Thank you for joining us today.
Well, thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, I'm so excited to chat with you. Can you tell us about yourself? And you write books, right? You're an author? Yes, can you
That's
tell us
right.
in your background?
Absolutely. So my name is Ran Wei Baker. I am based in Maplewood, New Jersey. I'm a mom to 2 girls and the author of Boba Bear Bilingual. And so our books are children's books that are bilingual currently in Chinese and English. And it features this bear named Boba Bear that represents kind of a multicultural child through a lot of different adventures, through New York City, through the outdoors, through celebrating Lunar New Year. And I created this series 3 years ago when I was first pregnant with my first daughter, looking to, of course, build her a little bookshelf full of bilingual books for us in Chinese and English specifically, because it was really important for me to expose my baby as she was growing up to, the beauty of the language and the culture that I feel like I was blessed to be exposed to when I grew up. And so was really surprised that there at the time was not that many books out there that were bilingual and represented children from multiple backgrounds. So decided I wanted to be the change I wanted to see, and started on this really awesome journey. And so it's been amazing, and I've had the pleasure of meeting so many other creators, so many other authors along the way, and it's been a great ride.
So you say you started when you were pregnant with your first.
That's right. So naturally then the journey was longer than had I not been pregnant, because I started the idea, and of course I knew nothing about book publishing or writing children's book at the time. So some education, and then by the time I was like ready to write and draft, I had my first daughter. I was a first time mom, so naturally it delayed the process a little bit from initially I was like, oh, I could do this within like 6 to 8 months to like 2 years.
That's
But totally
good.
worth the ride.
I mean, you just had such far vision of starting when you, I don't even know I have any books when my first child was born. I feel like, but you had this like far vision, and when you're pregnant, you start looking for books already, and when
Yeah.
you realize there's really not much out there, and you just, wow, that's incredible.
Yeah, no, thank you so much. And for me, I truly think that the best gift my parents ever have given me in my life is the gift of language and culture. So I immigrated to the States with them when I was 5.5. And so Chinese was my first language. But like many that immigrate with their parents at such a young age, it's so easy to lose that exposure, right? To lose that language ability. But so like for many, we just get sent to Chinese school. But I think it's not enough. You need to be consistent at home too. My parents really made it a big point to speak Chinese to me, to make sure that I understood a lot about the history and our culture, celebrating holidays, teaching me the meaning behind why we do things. And it's really helped me become, I think, in my career as I got older, to college, beyond, when I started to become a working professional. It made me more open-minded, I think, and it gave me the ability to more easily connect with different people, and some who might not necessarily have the same background or perspectives as I did. And so knowing how, and then of course the language component, just knowing a different language has really opened so many more doors to me in terms of my career, in terms of the people that I can meet and connect with. So knowing all of this, I knew that it was a priority and really important for me to give the same gift to my daughters. Yeah.
So it sounds like with just like a positive experience all around. But I guess my question is, when you first moved here, you're 5.5, right? And you essentially probably had to start learning English,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, yeah,
And
yeah.
how did you, I guess, balance in between? Because that's also school age too, like age 5,
Yeah.
maybe kindergarten.
Yeah. Kindergarten.
How, I guess, how did you find a balance between, yeah, speaking Mandarin at home, or Mandarin, right? Chinese
Mandarin. Yep. Yep.
at home while trying to learn English? Was at some point you were maybe prioritizing English versus, I guess I just like trying
Yeah.
to, could you walk us through that process and maybe, I don't say struggle, but like mental, I don't know.
Yeah,
State.
no, that's a great question. I think at 5.5, you're right. It was kindergarten. And so you're not only at that age, for me, I was just starting school, like quote unquote big kid school, but also in a completely new country, in a completely new language. And it's fascinating because at 5.5, I do have memories. Like I remember how hard it was. At the time, we were the only Chinese family in our town. So it was also hard for me to feel like I fit in. I remember being in ESL, which is English as a second language, and really just like eager to catch up. And I remember when I was in school, I wrote an essay about this when I was younger. It was very challenging for a child to, I think, any child to balance all of that. But I remember looking at my parents, and as immigrants, many of us, I think, share the same immigrant story as children of immigrants. I remember seeing how much they were fighting. They didn't know any English either, but they were making it work. They were still trying to kind of be there for me and learn the English words with me, and make sure I felt supported along the way, as I was figuring out my new identity as a 5.5-year-old, but an immigrant to a new country, with a new language. And so seeing how strong my parents were and how hard they worked gave me, I think, the push to continue to try my best along the way. And in terms of the language, how it worked was that at school, as I mentioned, we were the only Chinese family, so I had no one else to speak Chinese to. So it was all English. And then when I got home, I spoke exclusively Chinese to my parents, and it continues to be like that today. So this is great too for my kids, because my parents see my kids see their grandparents a lot, and so they speak I speak Chinese to them. My husband doesn't speak any Chinese at all. So he's kind of learning with them, and then when they see Ye Ye and Lala, which is grandma and grandpa in Chinese in Mandarin, they know to speak Chinese to them. So it's kind of, I think, just in terms of teaching kids multiple languages, consistency, and then you have like many different models, right, as parents today. And we try to follow the one parent one language model, but it's hard, especially for myself, and I think many parents relate, because our partners don't speak that language at all, and you don't want to exclude them. So I think it's about like making sure you align with your partner on what the plan is, and then try your best to like stick to that one language. And that's what my parents did for me, unintentionally, because they didn't know how to speak English, but they did that for me. And I think that's how I was able to maintain my Chinese language ability even after, I left home to go to college and beyond. Yeah, because they set a foundation for me.
That's incredible. So I guess on point, sometimes it's like, because my son, he's 4 year old
Yeah.
and he speaks a lot. I mean, he's preschool. But I did not, kind of like your parents did, had like solid foundation, and the expectations are just like straightforward, just like this is you expected to speak Mandarin at home. So like I spoke English with him like half and half when he was little, and now I'm like, I really want to focus more on Mandarin. But he just responds. He understands, which is good, but
Yeah.
he responds in English.
Yeah, of
And
course.
I feel
Yeah.
like that's pretty common, because it's like, like my husband also doesn't speak any Mandarin at all. He's learning.
Yeah.
Alongside, he
Yeah.
reads some like bilingual books, and there's pinyin, so he could like pronounce some of them. Um, Obviously not perfectly. And my son could like sense the difference, like when I speak Mandarin and when he speaks Mandarin. So it's like a fun, it's a fun event activity actually at that time, because of my son just thinks it's so funny that daddy speaks Mandarin, like broken
That's
English,
awesome.
broken Mandarin. So
Yeah.
yeah, what adds another layer of fun. But have you gone through any stages like that, and
Oh,
how
yeah.
did your parents respond to it? Because that would really help me a lot, actually, or other parents a lot, how to, I guess, redirect or encourage.
Well, okay, so for me, it was a different situation than like both for you and I. Our kids, my daughter's 3, my older daughter is 3. It's that my parents literally didn't know English, so I could only speak Chinese to them. However, more tactically thinking of things that could also apply to like today's parents like us, they also made it like a fun learning experience. Like, for example, as a teenage girl, like many, I really liked dramas, right? And so I watched a lot of Chinese dramas. And so they saw that that was exposing me to a lot of language. So they encouraged that, right? Also, at a young age, they could tell I really liked performing. Like, I was really into dance. I was really into public speaking. And so my mom really tried to make it like a fun experience for me. She signed me up for like a lot of dance classes to expose me to, which like the other kids would be speaking Chinese as well. And she signed me up for a lot of like, poetry, like recitation contests, and her and I would work on that together, and that would be like a fun experience for me as a child. So I think it's, as parents, and I too relate to this, we want to make sure like we're consistent. We want to like speak Chinese to them, but then we get frustrated because they respond back in English. But I think like my mindset is now shifting as I reflect back to what it was like for me, right? It should be, for most kids, it should be an experience, a journey, and one that's the long-term game. So they should enjoy the journey along the way and try to make it fun for them. So for example, like the reason I created the books, I read to her in Chinese, and we kind of like talk about the different characters in the books together. And even like the English books, like Rainbow Fish, for example, I'll read to her in Chinese, and we'll like talk about like different things in the book in Chinese and have a conversation. So like I know I'm continuing to grow her language abilities. And like if you allow screen time, a lot of the shows, the children's shows, like on the streaming devices these days, they have Mandarin or Cantonese subtitles, and also the dub in Chinese or whatever language you're looking to have your child exposed to. So we don't do too much screen time, but when we do, we try to make it like a language experience, unless of course it's like Miss Rachel, but there's also like Chinese versions of Miss Rachel these days as well. A lot of creative creators have come up in recent years, but yeah, we try to figure out, just as it was for me, I try to kind of relay that theme to my daughters, like what do they enjoy, what is a fun experience to them, and how can I weave in like language in that. And to your point about, like why does he, like, he clearly understands, but why is he responding back to me in English? I think I'm seeing that for my own daughter too, which is really
How old
fascinating.
are they?
She's 3. My older daughter is 3, and then I have a baby who's 11 months, but who's also being exposed to language, but a little too young to kind of see how that's coming like to fruition. But for my 3-year-old, she exclusively spoke Chinese at home with me, and then my mom who helped care for her, because my husband travels a lot for work, so he would only be home kind of like in some days of the week. So I would say she was like 90% Chinese and 10% English before she started school, right? To the point where this is kind of like a funny story, but I'm very proud of that this is the case. Her first day of school, they needed to find a Chinese teacher to translate for her because she only knew how to speak Chinese to all the teachers. And so I was really proud because we put in a lot of work to make sure that we live in like, New Jersey. So everybody speaks English around us. So to really like expose her took a lot of intention and effort. But at school, as she slowly got more and more exposed to English and everyone else was speaking English and her dad speaks English, it became like her natural comfort, that, or like just comfortable language that she defaults to. However, what I will say is, like, again, consistency is key. Like, I continue to speak Chinese to her, and sometimes, like, it's interesting. She says something in English and I don't react. She'll say it again in Chinese. And so you see that she gets it. And like, what's funny, the other day, for example, my mom was over, she was playing with her grandma, and then she was like, oh, like, lao lao, a water. And then my mom was like, water, what's that? And she was like, that's shui. And so, like, she knows, which is water in Mandarin. So she knows. And so I think it's like finding pockets of opportunities to encourage it. And then as they get older, I think like our kids 3 and 4 are still younger, but as they get older and are able to like experience more things like classes or travel, like to weave in that language and culture exposure in the experiences they get as well, I think is really important, or at least taken from my own like childhood of what's been really helpful and impactful for me. Yeah.
So it just sounds like your experience with Mandarin the culture has been so positive. And
Yeah.
I just love it because I could feel that you just love the language. You're rooted. You're deeply rooted. And because of how positive the experience has been and how rewarding it has been, you want to pass it on to your daughters.
Yeah.
And it's very encouraging and reassuring as well.
I'm
Yeah.
glad.
I just appreciate your energy and positivity. So now I want to shift to your books. So I know
Yeah.
in the beginning, right, I guess first, like, what was your background? Because you say you knew nothing about it. And then that's like literally like superpower for moms, right? When you want to do something for your kids and you do it, even though you knew nothing. But so like, can you share with us, like, what were you before, I guess, your professions, and like, what do
Yeah.
you do nowadays? And how do you get the ideas for of your books?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. Um, so professionally by day, I work in digital strategy. So my career has been like a mix of digital transformation, strategy. I was a consultant for a couple of years, a management consultant, and then a big foundation in brand strategy and creative like marketing. So while I know nothing about I did know nothing 3 years ago about book publishing. I knew a lot about creating a brand, and I know a lot about telling a story, right? And now as a mom, I know a lot about like just consumer centricity and like creating products that your target audience cares about, right? And so this is actually continues to be a passion project of mine. So by day, I'm also leading a team in marketing and digital strategy. And so how the journey kind of played out was I had this idea 3 years ago. I was pregnant. It was also during COVID. My first daughter was born during the pandemic, and many, we're restricted to our homes, especially myself as a pregnant lady, didn't really go anywhere. So I had lots of time to sit and just like think, right? So it took a while. Actually, I tried to be really thoughtful about the process of brainstorming and creating like concepts that like a mom like myself would want to consume and resonate with. I talked to a couple of moms. I talked to a couple of other authors and asked about what their experiences were like. Because as an author, you can go many different ways. You can go through a publisher. You can self-publish, which is what I decided to do. You can, draw your own like images and creative. You can hire an illustrator. There's just like so many the printers alone. There's so many different types of paper, ways to print it, and so it was a lot of research. I would say like a year's worth of research that went into thinking about everything and also educating myself. And then once I knew enough about how to get started, then came like the concepting. I had a huge list of different ideas I wanted to write my book about. Excuse me. And then it ended up being 3 ideas. The first book is called Boba Bear's Lunar New Year. And so it's about Lunar New Year, but I wanted to create a book that like explained why we celebrate, like we do certain things the way that we do, instead of just like, oh, she eats dumplings, but oh, we eat dumplings because they represent wealth, and the more like dumplings you eat, like the wealthier you become. And like, so a book that explains the traditions that our family loves to do and why. I thought that was really important because in my own bookshelf I was missing a lot of that. I had a lot of Lunar New Year books, but not many that went further than just what people did. The second one is 123 New York City with Boba Bear, and it teaches counting. And that one was more because I felt like a lot of books about New York or like about Times Square or about the Statue of Liberty. And as someone that lived in New York, I just wanted a more locals perspective, and none of them really included Chinatown. And of course, like as an Asian American, Chinatown is such a big part of like my New York story. So that's how 123 New York City came about. And then as a writer, you always say like, some books you create because your audience will resonate with them, and then you create one that's more for you. And the third one, which is Boba Bear's Outdoor Adventure, is more like for me. Our family loves hiking, and so I wanted to write a book for our other families that love the outdoors. And it's a book that teaches colors in Chinese by way of like going to all the national parks as a family. And so it kind of was a good homage to like the things that our family loves to do together and our love for the outdoors. So that's kind of the journey of how the books were created. And yeah, like I said, my background is in digital strategy, creative strategy, like brand marketing. So I kind of leveraged that to apply to while I was concepting the books.
So how is sleep? Just like hearing all of these, right? You work full time. You have a 11 months old and a 3-year-old.
Yeah.
You said you had a lot of time during COVID, but no, you were.
I was also working and pregnant.
I'm just like, so you basically had no sleep because my kids are 3, 4, and 2, so I guess a year ahead of you. But I just looking through those 8 years, I'm just like everything is a blur. Yes, I didn't do much because I feel I'm just like constantly tired, exhausted. My brain is just like dead, like fried.
Yeah.
So it's just like I'm like shocked, like so impressed of how like you did all of that when you were working, pregnant, taking care of newborn, and produce like creating this.
You're like
just
Wonder Woman.
like mind blown.
Thank you. No, thank you so much for saying that. It's definitely, yeah, I definitely am tired, first and foremost. It has been a learning experience for me, and also similar to parenthood, an extremely, extremely humbling one. And the reason I say that is because one, like I think the journey of both entrepreneurship as well as like being an author and self-publishing is very similar to, I think, having a child. Like many entrepreneurs and founders will tell you that, like, you know, their business is kind of like their child, which I totally relate to because um like you create something that like came from nothing. You know, you have an idea and you brought it to life, and it just means so much to you. But at the same time, like you mentioned, there's other things going on. I have a child, I have a job, I have like friends, I have, you know, a partner. And what I learned along the way is that this is my own perspective. There's really not like a perfect balance. There's always something that has to give. That's like the first lesson that I learned. Like, for example, when I was first starting out the books and I was a new mom, like everyone says, you know, as a new mom, you like, there's so much going on. You need to take time for yourself. And at the time, because I was just starting Boba Bear, I defined taking time for myself as working on my books. So that was like my me time. And now, you know, 3 years later, I recognize like, no, that's work time. I need to like take a step back and like really do something that's not work if I'm taking like me time. And that's important in terms of like the entire, I would say, like harmony. I don't think it's necessarily like a balance, but it's a harmony of how the different pieces of your life, your career, like your identity as a role as a mom work together, and what sometimes is prioritized and what sometimes is deprioritized, right? And so that's something I continue to learn along the way. But I'm trying to find, you know, my harmony and prioritizing my family above all, and myself, of course. Because I think like you can't kind of like tell your story if you yourself don't feel like happy about where you are, right? So that's my first lesson in terms of like there like life is about a harmony that's constantly like shifting and ebbing and flowing. My second biggest lesson that was super humbling, of course, is similar to having a child and parenting. Like, your village is so important. I definitely would not have been able to launch Boba Bear if it not were not for my partner, who's been so supportive along the way. He was the one that like encouraged me to do it while I was pregnant. He was like, "Oh, like this is great. This is like, you're so creative. You could definitely do a great job here." And he's been with me, you know, when we go to events or like shows, he comes with me and he like does the table with me. I remember, so I have an 11-month-old, and she was born in May, right? Which is right during AAPI Awareness Month. So it's a big month for AAPI small business owners, right? There's a lot of things going on. And I was in my third trimester last year. And like 2 weeks away from my due date, I like needed to do this one event that I knew would give me a lot of great exposure. And he came with me, and I sat the entire time, and he was there like trying to like tell people walking by about my books, and like, you know, this is my wife, she's pregnant right now, but here's like what she did, here's the kind of books that she writes. And I'm really grateful to him, truly, for his support, not just in this book journey but also in the bilingual journey. Like, it feels isolating for many partners who don't speak, you know, the language that you're trying to expose your child to. But he's just been nothing but supportive, and made it a really positive experience to be eager to learn with my daughters, which is really, really nice. And I'm super appreciative. And of course, the village of my parents and all the caregivers to like help care for the kids when I need some downtime to like, you know, heads down, focus on something related to the books, or even, I mentioned, I have a day job, or be able to work, or sometimes give me space to kind of go for a walk, or like clear my head. So also say, I just don't think, no matter how one's village is defined, I think is different for every single person, but I think everyone needs like a village to support them in both parenthood as well as entrepreneurship. Yeah.
I totally agree with the village thing. And you mentioned so
Yeah.
much repeatedly. And I just feel I get a sense that you have such a strong foundation, such a supportive village. Could you share with that a little bit, like in terms of maybe parenting, like the village of like parenting your kids and also your author friends?
Mhm.
How did you build it from, I guess, scratch? How did you
Yeah.
connect, like build your community?
That's a great question. For parenting, actually, for parenting and for finding fellow, whether it be like small business owners that are similar to your like niche, or small like business slash owner slash authors. The internet is a very big resource pool of resources and network of people, and you'd be surprised at how many connections you have in common, or just one connection away from someone who's like in this world. Right. And so that's how I found like my mom community when I first had my first daughter, Lily. There's so many local like mom groups. As Asians, like I'm sure we all know, like Modern Asian Moms is a great group just to like be a part of. And then there's subsets of depending on like in the US at least where you live, which is nice. And then in both New York City as well as the town I live in, New Jersey right now, Maplewood, there's like groups on Facebook for moms, and you can talk about anything from being a first-time mom to like when your kid is going through like school and what that's like, to like some moms are teenage moms and like what that's like dealing with a teenager. So you learn from each other. And I think it's just mainly the sense of togetherness, like someone else gets it and we're here for each other just to like support each other and care. I think simply having that is really important. And similarly, as an author, it's good to know that other people are going through the same like business challenges as you, or growth challenges, or like celebrating our wins. So I also have a group of API authors that I met like via Facebook as well, which has been like really cool. I think one of the first authors I met, shout out to Biddy Bao, who you probably have heard of, Lacey and Lulu. So I met Lacey like actually randomly, I think in a mom's group on Facebook. And I reached out to her to ask about her Biddy Bao experience, and she was so generous with her time, and her knowledge to share with me, that really got my gears thinking in terms of how to actually execute this idea. So people in this community, especially of API authors, so supportive, so kind. And I am lucky to have found such great communities, both in parenthood as well as in authorship.
Well, Ren, you're so lovable. I'm not surprised you're getting help from different people, and you're positive and love your energy. And going back to what you said about work-life balance, I agree with you, because I heard something like that on a book and podcast too, that work-life balance is a myth. It doesn't
Totally. I think
exist.
so.
Like, if you see like someone, they're successful, whatever definition is that for you, successful.
Yeah.
But and then how do they do that? How do they have the time? This and that. But it's actually not true. And the definition I heard is similar to what you just said. You go through season of life, right?
Yeah.
Let's say you're about to publish your Boba Bear book, and you might have to focus that a little bit more because you have to do the marketing stuff, because that's happening. And then you might shift. Hey, your kids might have a soccer game, or you just have a newborn, and then you just have to shift a little bit left, right? You just kind of go back and forth like that. So really, I don't think anybody can say I have a perfect work-life balance.
No.
Yeah.
No, absolutely not. And again, like it's totally different. For me, for you, for like anyone else, everyone's harmony of what that looks like is different. And I truly believe for everyone, it's a constant work in progress, because life is constantly evolving and changing, right? So it's about like how we approach it and being okay with not doing everything at the same time, or like deprioritizing things to prioritize.
Not to have guilt, right? Like, guilt, that mom guilt.
For sure. It's very, very real. And as a really aspirational career woman, like also the guilt of like, becoming a mom, am I taking a step back in my career in order to prioritize my family? Like, what does that mean in terms of my identity? And then being an author, am I prioritizing more of like my business than I am like with my family? I think it's like the constant guilt all around of what you're giving up, which is why I say I think it's okay. Like it's important to feel okay with what you've chosen to prioritize at that time, knowing that it'll probably shift and change along the way towards something else, as you see fit.
I think it happens more to women, to moms, right? I saw a Facebook meme the other day. It's like a picture, and it's like a marathon. Like there are like two moms and two women and two men running on a track. and then you'll see like the path for the men is just so clear. They just run, right? And then you see the path for the women is like dishing, like washing dishes, kids, and then wash dryer. They have to like, jump over that to the end. I'm like, it's so funny. It's so true.
True. We do so much. Which is why I say, like, to my earlier point, it's important to find lots and lots of time for self-care, to love yourself first before anything. Yeah.
Yeah, that's very important.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I feel like a lot of times it's really us giving, like, we need to allow us to give us permission to. I'm still working on it, and it's been really, really hard for me, even though my son is 4 years into motherhood now. I just feel like I want to be there every single moment. I guess I'm one of those controlling. Hopefully I don't turn into a helicopter mom, but I want to be there for every second, like every part of it, but it's impossible. And also I'm working. So like that's right. And I feel like I'm always struggle to, but then I'm also being like self-contradicting, because when I'm actually home with them, like I'm tired at the end of the day or even on a weekend, and when they're throwing tantrums and then like all the chaos, I'm just like, oh my God, I just want to pull my hair out, and I'm not the nicest to them. I'm like, okay, when I'm at work, I keep thinking about them, like thinking I'm this loving mother, but when I'm actually with them, I'm just like, what am I? Right? Like I'm just like a constant.
Yeah.
That's all of us, I think.
Totally.
When they're in school, I'm like, Dora, I'm so mean to them. Okay, today I'm going to be a good mom. When they come home from school, I'm going to be this and that. And when they come home, like the second they start fighting, because I have a boy and a girl, they're a little older, 9 and 11, they start fighting. I'm like, oh, I'm going to kill them. It's like out of the window. I thought I would be a better mom today, but I guess not. I'll try tomorrow.
So relatable. Yeah, even just this morning, I got up and I'm like, today is the day we're gonna have a great morning. And of course, like, my 3-year-old got really upset because like the dress she took out wasn't the dress she wanted to wear today. Then her sister took her pouch during breakfast and she got upset about that. Then her sister got upset because she was upset and she just wanted to play with her big sister. And so then and then we're trying to get out the door to work and drop off for school. And it's really hard to like woosah in that moment. But from like, I think that like to that, how I try to approach it is, some days it just happens. It is the way it is. But other days, like, for me, like this year, presence is something I'm really trying to kind of like anchor myself off of on. And what I mean by that is, like, even if I only have like 5-10 minutes, like after I get home, I'm exhausted from work, but I'm gonna dedicate this 10 minutes, 5, 10, 15 minutes uninterrupted, not gonna look at my phone, gonna try and mentally like put work like temporarily on the back end and be present. Whether like my daughter wants to build magnet tiles, okay, let's build a tower together in 15 minutes. She knows that she has my undivided attention, and she knows that mommy's like here just to spend time with her. You take the small wins along the way, but I try to I'm trying to be as present as I can. And that goes to say for home as well as for work. So that way, like, I'm present at work. I'm here to like do my work, or like when I'm doing Boba Bear, I'm like fully focused on Boba Bear right now. And of course it's easier said than done, but knowing that, then like, even if it's a shorter amount of time, I'm trying to be present and like give my whole self. And that's like how I've been trying to survive.
I love that. I'm going to give you a virtual high five because I'm practicing that too, constantly being present. I think being present is so important because for me, I feel like my mind, when I'm with them, like, okay, what's lunch for tomorrow? Or, I'm looking at my calendar. I'm like, okay, I'm not really there. And I just feel like that's been happening for a long time. My daughter's 11, so now I'm just really practicing and aware. And now I'm aware, like, okay. I'm thinking about other stuff. I just need to remind myself and come back. Okay, what does she want to do? She wants to play, we were playing Connect 4 the other day. put my phones away, not gonna check any. She's older now and she knows. She knows that, okay, you're checking your
Yeah.
phone, you're not paying attention to me. We're playing this board game, right? So I just make sure that even 5 minutes, 10 minutes,
Yeah.
and she can tell, they can tell that
They
we
can definitely tell. Yeah.
are yes, and that I think that quality time is very important. And I read it somewhere in a book. They said, you know how we have power struggle when we tell our kids to do something, they don't want to do it.
Mm-hmm.
They said the more connected you are, it's like our relationship with our husband. If we have really good relationship with our husband, for example, and I'm exhausted, I'm going home from work, and my husband called, hey, can you pick up a dessert, a pie for me? So if we have a good relationship, oh sure, why not? It was on the way. But can you imagine if we're not in the best place, not in a good relationship, like, get it yourself, okay? How dare you, right? Well, it's like it
Yeah.
goes same way with our
Yeah.
kids. When we are more connected and they feel like that we care about them, we want to spend time with them. When we ask them to do things, they will more likely to say yes. I think they call us, what is it called in the book? I think it's like emotional, like banking. Is that we have to like put a lot of attention, connection in the bank, and then when we have to take some out, ask them to do this, that, they were more willing to say yes than no.
No, I love that a lot. I'm now gonna remember that term. And like the times of the day that I feel like I read somewhere that are most important to kind of be more present are the first, 10 minutes of when they wake up in the morning. And like the for like the during the middle of the day, if they're home, like how you spend like eating lunch together and stuff, and then finally the last 10 minutes of before they go to bed. Oh, so no, sorry, maybe the middle one was, it was either lunch or it was like the first 10 minutes of after they get back from school or something like that. And like these three periods of the day are especially really important to like show them that you're present. And I think like time is so fascinating. We always feel like we're rushing to get someplace. There's never enough time. And I think for me, like I'm trying to slowly shift my own mindset too, because yes, there's never enough time, but time also like flies so quickly. Like we all have kids, we see how fast they've grown. Like you're never going to get these moments back again. And so for me, what's most important is making sure my daughters know that they're loved, and they're the most important things to me in this world. Like everything I do like is for them. How wasteful would it be if I like were too busy thinking about like, oh, what I should pack them for lunch in those first 10 minutes they wake up, or like just getting them dressed, or like, yeah, what needs to be done for work, and they feel like they're not the priority. And of course it's easier said than done because we're all again just trying to survive, but I think I'm really, really trying hard to take steps back and remind myself of this often. Yeah.
It's so important. When I look back, I don't know about you guys. My kids are a little bit older, but when I look back on their, Facebook have like pop out the memories.
Yeah.
And then I saw that their picture when they're baby or toddler. I'm like, I want to cry. I'm like, oh
Yeah.
my god! Now she just
Oh,
so much attitude, and then she just can't feel anymore. And
amazing.
then I'm like, okay, wait a minute. And I just thought about it. Okay, what if this is 5 more years later when she's 15, 16? I'm going to look back again when she's 11. And I'm like, oh my gosh, she was so cute at that moment when she did this, she did that. So I'm like, okay, I can't just kind of dwell on the past and regret. I just have to focus
On the present.
talk about the present. Yes. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. Easier said than done, but we're all trying our best.
I think the most important thing, just what I learned, just we can't have so much guilt and know that we can, hey, always repair.
Yeah.
It's going to bring brand new day, and then we can always, repair.
Yeah. Every day is a new day. Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah, like Rain, you say like easier said than done, and I love that you give so much grace to like people and just to yourself too. Like I admire that, and I think it really helps a lot when we were chatting right now, right? We connect with other moms that we feel the exact same way, but it can be really isolating or lonely in just the struggle. So I really appreciate like just connecting with other moms, like you say, the village, because I'm like, oh, okay, so it's not just a me problem or not just my kids, right? So like, and then what you guys were sharing, I totally relate as well. So yeah, well, thanks. It's always very refreshing, and I guess I don't know the word for it, but it just
Yes,
it makes me feel better.
you're
Yeah.
not alone, right? You don't
Yeah.
feel like you're a bad mom.
Mm-hmm.
The other day when I was talking to my therapist, she's a psychologist, and she shared a story. She said when she because we're talking about parenting, and she said one time she brought McDonald's to her kids to after school, and she's like so excited, kids like McDonald's, right? And she's like already rehearsal, like they gonna be excited, happy, picking up on. So it's a big surprise. And then sure enough, pick them up and then start fighting in the car. The two siblings start fighting in the car. And she says she lost it. She threw away the McDonald's just on the floor. So, and when she shared that, I'm like, oh my God, even you do that? Like, you're a therapist, like, you're a psychologist.
Yeah.
And then instantly, I don't know why, I think it's like a human thing. Instantly, I felt better. I'm like, okay, it's not just me. I'm not like, even she makes mistakes. She said, yeah, and she said that's why I share this story because we all make mistakes.
Yeah.
So I think that's the thing. Like we feel once we share, we know that we are not alone, and we kind of feel a little bit better too. Cause
And hey, we're all human. Yeah. We're only human.
So now I want to like circle back to Ren's books, right? I know your journey, you share with us your journey and then the topics. Can you share with us the experiences, like reading and sharing those books with your own children?
Yeah. Oh
It
man.
must be so special.
It is truly so special, especially my 3-year-old now that she's older and she can articulate herself. She will like she has a favorite book. She really likes the outdoors one. Probably because, as I mentioned, we frequent the outdoors as a family. And she like points to Boba Bear and she goes like Babo Xiong, which is the Boba Bear's Chinese name, Babo Xiong. And then she'll be like, "That's Lily," and so she'll point to the bear because the book was inspired by her because I was pregnant with my older daughter's name is Lily. So we'll be like, "That's Lily." And then I'll be like, "Oh, what about the xiongmao, the panda bear?" And she'll be like, "That's like mommy." And then we point to like the other bear. She's like, "That's like daddy." So and she like reads it to me. She like reads it to me sometimes too, which is so cool to see a concept that I thought about while I was pregnant with her come to life and then see her interacting with it, seeing her like learning Chinese with the book has been really, really cool. And then this past year for Lunar New Year, she finally has been old enough to kind of understand some of the like the meanings of things behind Lunar New Year. So we read the Lunar New Year book together and she'd be like, "Oh, 红包, like 爷爷 and 姥姥 gave me 红包," and I was like, "Exactly, yeah, that's like make sure what do you say?" And she's like, 恭喜发财, and so it was like really cool to see, yeah, it come full circle. And then she's also really happy to, so we bring it to school sometimes for like you have bring your book to school day, and then she brings it and she shares it with the teachers, and it's also really brings me so much joy to see the teachers get excited about it, to see other parents who share our love for bilingual education get excited about it. And also it's been really special to watch my parents read it to my kids as well, because the book about New York City, it is dedicated to my mom and my dad, because growing up, our special thing, we have always lived in New Jersey, so our special like family activity was really simple, but to me so special. It was just driving into Manhattan and going to Chinatown. And in New York City, there's a soup dumpling place called Joe Shanghai, which is like so good, and that was like our thing. We would drive to Chinatown, get boba, and go to like eat xiaolongbao, eat soup dumplings. And so those were such beautiful memories that I wanted to dedicate this book to them, and like all the things that they had showed me and opened my world to as a kid. And seeing them then read it now to my daughters, again, comes full circle and is a really beautiful experience for me. Yeah. And actually, one more thing I'll say about this is when I first started Boba Bear and we first launched, a couple of moms had reached out to me and sent me pictures of their parents also reading the books, because a lot of moms in our generation, I think, like only know the language like a little bit, or they speak Cantonese and they're still learning Mandarin, and so they give it to the grandparents as like an opportunity for the grandparents to bond with the kids too. And like I got a couple of pictures of grandparents reading to the kids, and yeah, that just it brought me so much happiness to know that I can help be a part of that connection for someone's family and for someone's kid. Yeah.
Your parents must be so proud of you because they raised you really well. You should be proud of yourself
Thank
too.
you very much. That's very kind.
So, what is your now goal, mission for this? Are you going to publish more in the series, or
Yeah, no, that's a fantastic question. So, I started Boa Bear 3 years ago as a concept, and so we launched it in end of, I think, in 2022. So it's been last year was a year of just like establishing our brand and some growth, and moving forward, I'd love to scale it more in terms of I want to offer Boba Bear in more libraries around. We have like a program where you can, if you don't have a child you specifically want to give the book to, you can also buy a book to donate to a library. So I would love to get more books donated to libraries, so more libraries have bilingual books out there as resources to kids and caregivers. We last year also decided to expand to Asian inspired toys. So we also sell like little boba plushies. We sell wooden tea sets, dim sum sets. And because as my daughter is growing up too, like Boba Bear has grown up, and I noticed the same kind of challenge as the books. Like, okay, there's not a lot of Asian inspired food toys available in the States, at least. There's only like what I've seen most of is sushi, like the Melissa and Doug sushi set, for example. So that's kind of what sparked. I was like, okay, I want to try to see if I can contribute to this more. So in the future, I'd love to scale that concept even more and grow that more. And of course, as you know, I have a second daughter, and I think I have at least one more book in me to dedicate to her. And I want it to continue on to this theme of celebrating language, celebrating culture, the education of bilingual education. And yeah, I think in the long-term future as well, I would also like to scale Boba Bear beyond just Mandarin Chinese to other languages, other dialects. So that's the dream that I hope, can continue chipping away at.
man, you are like a force, like nonstop.
Thank you.
That's amazing.
It's exciting. I think it really has been so cool to watch this idea become something, and most importantly something that brings positivity to kids and to families, and that brings me so much gratitude and so much joy to have the opportunity to do that.
In the beginning, you mentioned because you couldn't find a lot of books or resources, so you say you want to be the change, and you are the change right now.
I'm so glad.
Seeing all the pictures too, right, from the readers. That's definitely, I'm sure it meant so much for
It's
you
really,
as an author.
yeah, means so, and like every time we're at an event, someone passes by and says, "Oh, I've heard of your books," or "I have your books already," or like, "Oh, my daughter loves to read them." And the other day, another reader sent me a video of her daughter just randomly shouting like "Baba Xiong," and man, it just moments like this,
Keeps
and
you going.
yeah, gives joy, makes the whole like sometimes lonely journey of being an entrepreneur or a small business owner absolutely and totally worth it. Yeah.
Right? It sounds like you're gonna have more sleepless nights.
Hopefully I'll still be getting sleep, but be it with my time. That's the goal.
So final question I have for you, right? Really enjoyed today's conversation, but two. So how, because you had a marketing background, right? Like I think just like for moms out there who is in this like with you, like maybe like a writer or trying to start their own business, how do you market because I think a lot of entrepreneurs like to get started, right? Market their products, it's really challenging. So how did you do that given your background? And two is AAPI month is coming up in May, like you mentioned. Do you have any big plans for your books? Yeah.
Yes, no. For other moms out there that are looking to get started, well, the first thing is just to get started. So many people think so long and wait to have the perfect idea, and there is never, especially as a like entrepreneur and a first time like small business owner, never the perfect idea. But the important thing is to just get started and try something. Like it's okay for it to not work out, and that's a lesson learned, right? In terms of marketing, I think it really, really depends on what kind of product you're looking to build and who your target audience is. So in my case, my target audience are children and parents, especially parents who want to expose their kids to bilingual education. So like, where do people go for that? Well, digitally, of Facebook, Instagram. So it's like, I think about creating consistency and authenticity in your brand, both digitally as well as, if you decide to grow that in person too. I think those two things are key in terms of consistency and authenticity. And then, AAPI month is coming up. Lots of exciting things. We'll be at a couple of events local to New Jersey. For anyone that's local, Union Township has an AAPI festival every year that they started last year. So we'll be taking part in that. And then again, we're in Maplewood. So locally, Montclair also has a big Asian American presence, and so we're going to be a guest reader for their AAPI celebration, and then amongst that, many other readings that we're looking to do and participate in, especially in partnerships with libraries, with schools, and local townships, because ultimately we just want to get the word out and celebrate how fun it is to learn about language and culture. Yeah, and I think what better month to elevate that than May and AAPI month, though of course it doesn't stop or end there. It's a constant celebration.
Yes. Going back from what you said earlier about marketing, I love what you said, authenticity and consistency. It really is so important. Authenticity that if you're not doing, even though you're not doing a business, I think being authentic, true to yourself is just so important. But if you can bring that, you'll find your audience. Not everybody gonna like you, and that's okay. You find your people, right? So I think being authentic is so important. And consistency just can't. You just have to keep going at it to pursue your dream. Can you share where we can find your book?
Yes, absolutely. So my books are available on our website. And the website is www.bobabearbilingual.com. And then, for any readers that are interested in following along our journey, also would love for you to follow us on Instagram at Boba Bear Bilingual, which is how I think Yaya and Trista, we initially connected as well. So lots of fun things on Instagram. Absolutely. And there'll be many people that relate to you, that will both be inspired by you as well as you will be inspired by. And that's totally magical.
You inspired us for sure, Ran, today. Thank you for coming. It's so fun chatting with you.
Thank you, ladies, so much for having me. I really appreciate it. This was very fun.
Yes. I know you're going to inspire many others.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. All right. We'll stay connected. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you guys for listening. I hope you guys enjoyed the conversation. If you learned something from today or you love this episode, please share it with your friend. And make sure you subscribe to our podcast so you'll get the latest news every single week. And you can find us on social media at Mandarin Together Now, Instagram or Facebook. Make sure you follow us. Also, if you want to find free resources from us, make sure you check out the show notes. It has all the links in there. Lastly, if you love our podcast and you want to support us, please leave a review because we would love to hear from you. It will mean the world to us. Let us know what you like about our podcast. All right, see you next time. Bye-bye.